Okay, hello everybody. My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's going on? My peoples, where you at? Lots of stuff to talk about today. Lots of crazy stuff happening in the world. But before we get into it, let's take a look at what we're working on. So this is our sort of deranged, insane, tentacle beast looking thing. And yeah, it's coming along, looking pretty good. I'm just sort of cleaning up some of the line work here, and then I'm going to start working on a little bit more detail like we've got here around the mouth and tentacles. So that's what we'll be doing today. First thing I want to talk about here is this very disturbing trend that I've seen over the past year or so of Christians starting to ban porn. So what exactly is going on, right? Well, Texas has become the latest state to require some sort of ID in order for people to access the porns online. And because of that, the world's biggest porn site, which is Pornhub, has decided to basically cut Texas off. And it's essentially the same thing they did to Utah a few years ago. So anybody within the state of Texas who tries to access Pornhub gets a message basically saying that you are not allowed to masturbate in Texas using our website. That your elected officials have decided that masturbation is no, it's very bad for you, and they've taken it upon themselves to remove your ability to use this website in order to help you get some spanking material. Which is like, well, this is the consequences of elections, folks. You know, if you're going to vote for insane conservative Christian assholes, then you should expect it when they do insane conservative Christian asshole things. Like, say, try to ban porn. So let's read this article I've got here. This is from Variety. Pornhub disables website in Texas over age verification law. Let's read a little bit through this so we can all see exactly what happened and be on the same page. Pornhub and other affiliated adult websites have blocked access to users in Texas amid a legal battle with the Lone Star State's Attorney General over an age verification law. Last week, a federal appeals court upheld a Texas law requiring pornography sites to institute age verification measures to ensure only adults 18 and older are able to access them. Well, it also struck down a part of the law requiring porn sites to display health warnings about the content that came after previous federal judges ruling that the Texas law violated the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, which it does, by the way. Pornography is protected under the First Amendment, but let's continue. Against free speech restrictions, the Texas Attorney General's office immediately appealed that decision. A new message displayed Thursday to users with internet addresses in Texas on Pornhub and other sites operated by the parent company Aleo explained that it was disabling access to comply with the law, as first reported by the Houston Chronicle. Let's read what the message says. As you may know, your elected officials in Texas are requiring us to verify your age before allowing you access to our website. Not only does this impinge upon the rights of adults to access protected speech, it fails strict scrutiny by employing the least effective and yet also most restrictive means of accomplishing Texas's stated purpose of allegedly protecting minors. The message reads in part, which is absolutely true. When they say least effective, if it's a restriction that can be overcome with a simple VPN, right? You're not actually protecting your kids from anything when you try to enact like these sorts of censorship laws. Continuing on, the Pornhub site's message continued until the real solution is offered. We have made the difficult decision to completely disable access to our website in Texas. In doing so, we are complying with the law, as we have always do, but hope that governments around the world will implement laws that are actually protect the safety and security of users. According to the message, while safety and compliance are at the forefront of our mission, providing identification every time you want to visit an adult platform is not an effective solution for protecting users online, and in fact will put minors and your privacy at risk, which is absolutely true. So apparently the law said that every time you access the site, you have to supply this verification. Well, how would that be done? It would be done through some sort of third-party verification site, or even something that the state itself would create, which is, I think that's how it would work in Utah. Like the state itself is supposed to create the verification site, and then they just never did. So that's why in Utah this shit is still illegal, and there's still no official way to spank your monkey in Utah legally. Right? It's still illegal to masturbate in Utah, which is bullshit. But here's the thing about it, folks, right? That keeps a database of everybody who accesses the site. And part of the law, apparently, in Texas is that porn sites have to share this information with the government of Texas. And if I'm wrong about that, please let me know. I could be mistaken about that, but I believe that's what it is. I believe that part of this law says that that database of users and their IDs with their real names have to be something that is available to the government of Texas. Well, first off, that kind of thing can be greatly misused in lots of different ways. Having like an ID of everybody that accesses a website. I mean, there's no greater breach of privacy that I can think of. And then requiring that to be in the hands of the government? No. You shouldn't have to do that. You know, the government doesn't have any fucking business. Government has no business at all whatsoever determining what you view online, as long as what you're viewing is not illegal. That's where the government's interest in what you view, like, ends. Are you watching snuff porn? Are you watching stuff with, like, minors in it? That's the only thing that they should have any interest in. They shouldn't have any interest in who you are, what your name is, what you like to watch, what you're typing in, what kind of no. They should have no interest in any of that shit. The government does not need to know those things about anyone. All they need to know is the content on this site legal? Yes or no? And that's it. And frankly, in my opinion, the government shouldn't even be in the business of keeping this type of content out of the hands of minors. In my opinion, that belongs to the parent. The parent should be the one who gets to police their children when it comes to what their children watch and what they don't watch. It's illegal to knowingly provide this type of material to minors. That's illegal. But how do you stop that? Well, if you're in a store, it's easy enough just to not sell the dirty magazine or the DVD to the kid. But when you're online, it's a different story. Well, how do you verify that someone is of a certain age online? Well, it's not like this isn't the first time they've tried to do this kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but back in the day, it used to be when you went to a naughty website, there was a little age verification thing that popped up and said, hey, I certify that I'm over the age of 18, blah, 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 blah. That used to be a thing that would appear on... I mean, you still do kind of see it once in a while here and there, but it's not really that common anymore, especially with tube sites, right? So that's the first thing, but it's not effective. Like, they tried doing that. They also tried having some, like, independent sort of age verification websites where you would put in a credit card number and all that other stuff. And none of it worked. And so those laws just don't get enforced. Certain states do have laws like that on the books going all the way back to the 90s. And it's like, they don't get enforced. Why? Because there's no way to effectively enforce them. There's no way to effectively prove that you are who you say you are online. Because if all you need is a picture ID, well, you can just download one of those. Who says it has to be real? So who's going to verify it? Well, then it has to go to the government to be verified. So now it's the government's job to verify if the ID you uploaded to a porn site so that you can fucking choke your chicken and shit in peace. No, it's too far. It's like they shouldn't have any interest in that whatsoever. Here's how you solve this problem, folks. You pay attention to what your kids are doing online. Problem solved. If you actually wanted to do this in real life, if you actually wanted to have an actual age verification system that was effective, it's going to cost money. You're going to have to like hire people and have a special department of age verification and all this other shit. There's going to have to be laws and rules and regulations and all this other stuff. And every porn site that wants to be available in your state is going to have to go through all of these hoops and all of this bullshit. And you know what's going to happen? They're just going to do what Pornhub did. number one, and just not show up in your state. Or the other thing they'll do is that they'll just move their hosting to a different country and tell you to go piss up a rope. See, how do you enforce this law with a company that's not based in the United States? Let's say that I run a porn site and it's based out of France. Then what obligation do I have to collect data on my users and provide it to the government of Texas? I don't have any obligation to do that. I don't even have any obligation to not allow my users in Texas to access my site. Like I have no obligation to block people in Texas either. What are they going to do? Fly to France, fucking arrest me? No, that's bullshit. So how do you police that? So then the government of Texas has to go through its own government and spend all kinds of money blocking foreign websites that don't conform to their law. And now you have the government of Texas blocking websites based on their content or what they think the content is. And now I'm pretty sure that any of you conspiracy-minded folks out there can see that how this could all go wrong. How this is very, very, very easily can be abused. So how do you avoid all this stuff? Well, you just basically put a filter on what your kids watch. Are you like a Christian conservative? That's fine. There's commercial filters that you can actually go and buy and you can put on the computer and it'll filter out all of the naughty websites. Problem solved. Your kids can't like access any porn sites, right? Or anything bad that you don't want them watching, and everybody wins. So why is it the government's job to do this for your kids? That's the part I don't understand. That's what I don't get about Christians, right? How they want everybody else to raise their kids for them. It's fucking bullshit, right? Pornhub, as we've seen, has decided to block every single person in Texas. This is the exact same thing they did in Utah when Utah passed a similar law not that long ago. In fact, I think Utah was the first one. Several other states have passed similar laws, and Pornhub has also blocked them as well. Here's what happened in Utah when Utah decided to block pornography. VPN use increased by 967%. Let me show you this article I found. This is interesting. This is from VPN Mentor. VPN demand surges post-adult site block on Utah located users. The demand for VPN services in Utah skyrocketed Monday, May 1st and Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. The most visited adult website in the United States banned users from the state from accessing their website. Long story short, they go through the law, blah, 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 blah. And then if you go down here, here's the actual surge that went up a whopping 967%. So you can just kind of see, blah, blah, hitting around 10. Holy shit, I need my porn. And that's the other reason why it's not effective. If all you have to do is go get a VPN to completely circumvent the law and nobody can tell that you're doing it, then what the fuck is the point of requiring that law in the first place? I mean, what are they gonna like have to put filters around everything that comes into Texas and prevent all VPN traffic? Like, how would they even know if the traffic is related to a VPN or not? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a super duper computer network admin smarty, so can you even tell if certain traffic is being routed through a VPN or not? Like, I don't even know. Maybe you can, but should the state governments be spending their money on that? I mean, don't they have like kids to educate and prisoners to house and roads to be building and welfare and all that other shit and like that kind of thing to go through and fucking farms and shit to regulate? And like, don't they have stuff like that already? All their money that they should be spending their money on? Cops to hire and firefighters that need salaries and stuff? Like, why are they wasting their fucking time policing who is and isn't allowed to fucking touch themselves in the privacy of their own home? It's dumb as fuck. It's so absolutely just asinine. So, of course, the Christians and Republicans are outraged that it is not happening every single place in this country. Here's one I got here for you that I found on Twitter, because I always love seeing the reactions to this kind of thing. This is from someone named Charmaine Harbert. Charmaine Harbert. okay? Pornhub bans Texans due to Texas having an age requirement for viewing porn. Pornhub out there grooming the children. Another question is, why isn't there an age requirement in every state? It seems like a no-brainer to me, but then again, I'm not the kind to push porn on children. She wants it everywhere. Here's the thing. Pornhub is not the one grooming the children. Right? Pornhub is not pushing porn on anybody. Everyone seeks porn out themselves. No one is forced to watch porn. Now, I don't know about you, okay, but I can tell you when I was a kid, I was very much interested in naked girls and looking at boobs. And, you know, granted, I think I would go a little crazy if I was a teenager or something. Nowadays, I'd probably be an addict. I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably masturbate until my fucking dick fell off. If I had instant access to all of the millions upon millions of pictures and stuff like that the kids do nowadays. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying it's a good thing. What I am saying is that we shouldn't be wasting our government dollars trying to prevent this from happening, because it's gonna happen. I got news for you folks. If you have a child and your child is going through puberty, your child masturbates. I hope you understand that. Doesn't matter, boy, girl, whoever. They all do. Your child is masturbating. Does your child have a phone, a cell phone? Do they have like an iPhone or an Android or something? Then they're watching porn. I'm sorry to break that to you. I know that there are lots of parents out there that are in denial over this. Here's the other thing, folks. If your state passes a law like this, what's going to happen? Your kid is going to find a way to get around it. Your kid will get around it. Because here's the other thing. You don't have to actually go to Pornhub to find porn. You don't have to do that. You can use Google image search to find porn, for fuck's sake. Okay, there are hundreds of thousands of millions of naked pictures of people fucking on Google image search. There just is. Is Google image search gonna are they gonna have to require some ID verification before you can search for something? Is that gonna be a thing underneath this law? Of course not. Of course not. Because the way the law is written, it actually exempts things like Facebook and Twitter and Google image search and a bunch of other ways that people legitimately get their hands on porn, and it targets specifically sites like Pornhub, which is bullshit. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, Twitter is filled to the fucking brim with porn. It's just everywhere. But yeah, the way the law is written is there has to be 33% of your fucking 33% of your content. You know, there's boobs on YouTube, for crying out loud. You can find sex scenes about movies and naked women and shit on YouTube. You know, and you think, oh, well, they have content moderation, blah, 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 blah. No. It doesn't take long to find it either. So, yeah, it's not effective. If you're just going to block this one avenue that they're going to get spanking material from or whatever, it's not effective. And then also, any kid can just go download a fucking VPN and have access to all this shit already. And then also, there's going to be plenty of websites that are just not going to obey because they're hosted in other countries and they don't give a fuck what the laws are in Texas. And there'll be no way of blocking those things. I mean, unless Texas is going to route every single, all of the incoming traffic through a certain server so that they can monitor every single person's internet traffic or something like that. And fuck that. No, are they going to spend the billions upon billions of dollars that's going to take? Or are they going to force all the ISPs to do that? Are they going to force Verizon and fucking Comcast and all the other ISPs to force this shit on their users? Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I don't think so. And even if they try to do that, it's still going to be ineffective. It's just bullshit is what it is. It's stupid fucking conservative Christian horseshit. People who are too fucking lazy to parent their own children. But of course, people like Charmaine Harbert here are upset that the government is not parenting everybody else's children for them. I mean, what is it about being a conservative Christian that absolves you of any responsibility for being a parent? I don't understand how that shit happens. This is from DC Drano. DC Drano is, of course, proud that authoritarian laws are coming down. This just in the past week, Pornhub disabled its website in Texas after a new law required it to verify people's ages. The Supreme Court now allows Texas cops to arrest and detain illegal aliens. Texas is becoming Texas again. He's happy. He's happy that Texas is being officially taken over by Christian nationalist wackos. That's what this is. The whole thing with the Supreme Court and allowing cops in Texas to enforce illegal immigration law and all that other shit, that of course got stayed again. The Supreme Court basically said it's okay for Texas to enforce its own immigration laws, and then the Fifth Circuit Appeals immediately slapped the stay back on that and said no, that's not right. So that's still being fought over in the courts. That's a different subject, but it is no surprise to me that this asshole would think that was a great thing too. You know why he thinks it's a great thing? Because they're conservatives. If it was a somewhat blue state like, California, he'd be losing his fucking mind. If California was enforcing its own immigration laws and banning speech that he liked, he'd be losing his fucking mind. But since Texas is doing it and he happens to agree with these things, he's all for it. Which kind of goes to show that these fucking people don't actually give a shit about the law. They only care about the law insofar as it supports them politically. And the minute the law does not support what they like politically, they're against it. Here's one I thought was interesting. This is from Lord Bebo. No idea who this person is. Pornhub decided to rather turn off its page in Texas than implement age verification. That certainly looks like they want minors to see porn. Who owns Pornhub? Spoiler alert, folks, if Pornhub wanted minors in Texas to see porn, they wouldn't have blocked the entire state. What they would do is put a shitty form of age verification that would basically allow minors to circumvent it. That's what they would do if they wanted actual minors to watch porn. Pornhub does not want minors to watch porn. Pornhub does not want to have to gather information about its users and provide those to wackaloon politicians in Texas. And it's just much easier and effective to block all of Texas. Keep in mind, folks, blocking an entire state with 20 million people, I think that's how many people are in Texas, you lose money doing that. Now, I'm sure Pornhub is fine because Pornhub has the entire world as its user base. So I'm sure blocking one state in the United States is not a big fucking deal to them, or else they wouldn't have done it. But the point stands, they want people to consume their product, obviously. That's why they're there, in order to make money. If people aren't watching, they're not making money. Isn't that right? So seems a little counterintuitive to say what this idiot thinks. I mean, it's like these guys don't really think their opinions through. I mean, of course they don't. They're fucking conservatives. They usually just say whatever the fuck comes to mind. Moving on, let's see. Here's one. This is from the Texas Family Project. Texas told Pornhub that all they had to do was not let children on their site, but they refused. How the fuck is it refusing to block the entire state? Now no children in Texas get to watch this website. Isn't that right? No children in Texas are able to access this website unless they go to a VPN, of course, which is what they'll do. So how exactly is that refusing? I mean, it kind of seems like that's what the assholes in Texas want in the first place, which is what they want, by the way. If you haven't noticed, it's not about protecting children. It's never about protecting children. All of the shit that conservatives and Republicans do and say, how all they want to do is protect the little baby fetuses and protect the children, they don't actually give a shit about the children. It's an excuse. What they want to do is they want to get rid of pornography because they're a bunch of insane, crazy fucking Christians, and they think if you see a woman's nipples or something, then that means your dick gets hard, and that, I don't know, condemns your soul to hell. Like, if you have boners when you're not supposed to have a boner, then you'll, burn for eternity or something, because they're insane. They're insane and stupid and fucking brainwashed by this idiotic fucking Christian bullshit, and the rest of us gotta fucking suffer for it. Because that's what Christian nationalism is. We get to benefit, whether we like it or not, from their grace. And I wish I was making that up, but that's how they justify it. That's how Christian nationalists and Christian, Christian dominionists and stuff. That's how they justify them forcing their religious views on everybody else. That's the term they use. They go, well, they will benefit from our grace. See, what we're doing, we know what we're doing is right, and they'll benefit from the grace that we impart on them by forcing them to live according to our religious dogmas. That's not bullshit. That's the actual, like, justification for forcing someone who isn't a Christian to live according to Christian laws. Wish I was making that up. Here comes another one that I thought was really funny. This is from Redistrictor 435. Guy who supports porn bans so blue voting coomers move out of Texas. I mean, would I leave the state if I couldn't go on a specific website? No, I'd probably just get a VPN. So no, I'm sorry, Mr. Redistrictor. I don't think any Democrats are going to leave Texas, by the way. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen. I'm sorry. But I like this map that this guy posted here. And I wanted to show some maps of my own, see? Because Texas is not the first state that blocked Pornhub. Or rather, that Pornhub has blocked. So I went and found this map here. This is a map of the states which Pornhub has blocked due to ID laws. And it's pretty interesting. You see Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, North Carolina, Virginia, and Utah. And that little grouping there is something that I thought was very interesting. And I always love looking at maps when it comes to this kind of thing. And I think we should look at a couple of more maps. This is a map of gender-affirming care bans that impact youth. What is this? This is basically laws saying that trans, like bathroom laws, or laws saying that trans women can't compete in sports or something like that. Or laws about schools requiring their teachers and stuff to, like, basically out students to their parents. And you kind of notice that same familiar grouping. You have some states here in the Midwest, and you have basically the whole of the Deep South, except for South Carolina there. Kind of a familiar grouping, huh? Looks a little bit closer to this, with just a little bit more added in. This map is the U.S. legalizing weed map. Let's make that a little bigger. This is basically all of the states that marijuana is legal in and where it isn't legal. This map has actually changed a little bit, but you notice here there's still a few states where it's fully illegal. There's a few states where it's CBD only, so you're not allowed to actually have marijuana itself, but you can have like CBD cartridges or something like that. Getting close there. These are states where it's decriminalized. Medical only is the deepest green. You notice here that it's starting to penetrate the Deep South. Now, if you were to look at this map, say 5 years ago, it looked pretty close to this map here. You had this sort of solid block in the Deep South, and it seems like, well, marijuana legalization is finally starting to penetrate the Bible Belt there. This one I thought was interesting. This is the Confederate States during the Civil War. So these gray ones were not a state. These blue ones were Union states. But you notice here, the Deep South, once again, kind of this solid line here of all of these states. Very interesting. This is the 2020 election map. So you can kind of see here all the deep, except for Georgia there, Deep South. So this is where all the Republicans live. Happens to be the same states during the Civil War there. Happen to be the states where marijuana isn't exactly legal. Happen to be the states where all of the, trans bans have been happening. Here's one I found that somebody put together for me. This is actually from Reddit. And I thought this was very interesting. As I was hunting around for maps, I see someone already compiled this for me. Thank you, whoever you were that created this little GIF. But you can kind of see here, here's where all the Protestants live in the country, in the Deep South. This is education. Basically, the bluer the education is, the better it is. The more yellow it is, the shittier it is. Poverty, up here on the upper right. Red states aren't looking very good when it comes to poverty. Baptists. Funny how that's where all the Baptists live too. Now we start getting into some crazy shit. Diabetes. Look at that. Look at that. Holy fucking shit. You know why? It's because of all that sweet tea they drink in the South. Southern sweet tea. It's like the most, like, you know, they call it Texas tea or whatever. It's basically like a pound of sugar like jammed into a pitcher and shit. Child maltreatment death. Wow. Teen pregnancy. Looking pretty bad. Of course, this is slavery. This is the Civil War here. This one got me. Venereal disease. I wish I could make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? Let me try to, let's see if I can just control plus. Yeah, a little bit bigger so we can see it a little better. Venereal disease. What the hell is wrong with Florida? I mean, do they just not know about condoms down there and they don't have rubbers and shit in the South? I mean, I guess not if you compare the teen pregnancy map. So, kind of definitely shows, folks, we live in two Americas. Our country is large and encompasses a lot of different people. But it definitely looks like that a certain type of person is concentrated in these southern states here. Now, you can't say, right, what causes one thing or another. This is just correlation does not equal causation here. But I think it's pretty telling that where all the religious, like the more religious you are, the more religious your state is, the less educated its people are, the more likely they are to catch venereal diseases, the more likely they are to be poor, the more likely they are to get pregnant out of wedlock. And then this is also where all of the repressive laws are being passed as well. Laws against pornography, laws against trans rights, stuff like that. You don't see these same results in blue states. You just don't, you know. I bet you if I were to go find a map of violent crime and superimpose it on there, we'd see the exact same pattern. Because that's true too. Violent crime is way higher in the southern states than it is in, you know, per capita. I mean, obviously violent crime, there's more of it in New York and Los Angeles and California and stuff because there's more people out there. When you only have a state like Arkansas that has 4 million people in it, and then a city like Los Angeles that has 20 million, it's like, well, obviously there's going to be more crime in the city, but per capita, violent crime is higher in the South. It's higher in Texas. It's higher in, I mean, I think Texas has per capita the most death by firearm, just straight up like homicides by firearm, like in the entire country per capita. Like, I mean, it's this, these are not, you know, the stats don't lie when it comes to this kind of thing. Is it because these people are religious? Is it the religion that's doing it? Is the fact that they're poor that's doing it? Is it, I mean, I think really, if you had to ask me what I think the cause of all of these social ills are and why it's so bad in the South, I think it's really conservatism. I think there's an attitude that comes with conservatism where you do everything to not actually fix the root of the problem. And we see that in pretty much every solution, every non-solution, that comes from conservative politicians. They never want to fix the actual root of the problem. They always lean towards taking money away from the bottom segments of our society and giving it towards the top parts of the society. And they always lean towards jailing and imprisoning people and punishing people and taking away help from people. And those types of policies have consequences. I think it bears out. You reap what you sow and all that shit, right, folks? So, yeah, man. Texas, go ahead. Ban all the porn you want. It's not going to do any fucking good. It's just another example of, I think, lazy Christians imposing their will on everyone else and yet again forcing us all to live according to how they like it, whether we like it or not, because that's they have this warped mentality, this warped idea that we're benefiting by being forced to live under their religious laws. And real life agrees with me. Real life shows, if you actually look at the data about quality of life in blue states versus red states, especially in the Deep South, real life agrees with me. Anyway, if you live in Texas, a lot of VPNs are free, so you got nothing to worry about.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.